What is up, guys? Sushi Mancer here. In this video I'm going to be covering a deck around one of the new legendary creatures that was released in Phyrexia All is One. It's Glissa Sunslayer. As you can see, this deck is $24.73 at the time of recording. I'm not sure what the price will be once people start playing with Glissa and like gauge the power that you can build it for. I'm also testing out the new format for videos. I want to keep my workflow easier, because what I would usually do is I would save images and then go through like a slideshow. But in this video I want to use images that I get from Moxfield or MGT Goldfish. So starting off, Glissa Sunslayer is a Golgari 3 mana Phyrexian zombie elf. I think the fact that she is an elf is relevant, but it's basically a 3 mana 3/3 Phyrexian zombie elf with first strike and death touch. And then she reads, whenever Glissa Sunslayer deals combat damage to a player, choose one. You draw a card and you lose 1 life. You destroy target enchantment, or you remove up to 3 counters from target permanent. So the way I built this deck is to use her first ability, you draw a card and lose 1 life, to basically draw into removal and interaction, and then eventually tutor or draw into your win condition. Your win condition. She herself is also win condition, because a 3/3 body on turn, let's say 2, is pretty good. But the way I built this deck was to basically use her for her ability. The others are relevant, like destroy target enchantment is relevant if the opponent has an enchantment that you want to get rid of. It's very difficult to use enchantments against a deck like Glissa Sunslayer. And then you remove 3 counters from target permanent. I believe, I actually wonder if it counts as loyalty as well. Probably does, but yeah. So in the deck we have Arboreal Grazer. It's a 1 mana 0/3 beast with reach, and when it enters battlefield you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. It's basically easy ramp on turn 1, get another land on the battlefield. Next is Elvish Mystic. It's a 1 mana 1/1 elf druid that taps for 1 green. You'll want to be using him to ramp in this deck. Then the next card is Shadow Alley Denizen. Whenever another black creature enters battlefield under your control, target creature gains Intimidate until end of turn. So one of the ways to basically help Glissa Sunslayer land attacks is by attacking a opponent that does not have black or green creatures on the battlefield. So you can give him Intimidate, you attack, deal damage, and then you draw life and lose. You lose life and draw a card. Then we have one of my favorite cards in Magic is Painseer. It's a 2 mana human wizard that reads, whenever Painseer becomes untapped, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to that card's converted mana cost. Now, as you can see, this deck is relatively budget, so having an effect like that in a deck like this is very helpful. Then we have Paradise Druid, just a 2 mana mana dog with hexproof. We have Wall of Roots. That's the reason I added this to the deck. So you basically, it's a 0/5 plant wall that reads Defender, and then you may put -0/-1 counter on Wall of Roots. You add 1 green to a mana pool. So let's say you tap him for 1 green, you untap. No, wait, no, you don't untap. So you basically just put a counter on him. So you can put 3 counters on, and then use Glissa's ability to remove 3 counters, and then you can use that again. So you can, let's say, before combat you use 3 mana from Wall of Roots, you deal combat damage, and then you remove 3 counters. So it's in a way going to net you a lot of mana, especially if you keep on doing this. Then we have Burnished Heart. It's basically, you for 3 mana you play him, and then you pay 3 mana and sacrifice it and search for 2 basic lands. A good way to ramp in this deck. And then we have Flashback Marauder. When it enters, each player sacrifices a creature. You basically sacrifice it to himself, so it's very efficient removal if the opponent only has his commander out in play. And it does help with indestructible creatures. Then Loaming Shaman, the only purpose for him is to shuffle any cards in your graveyard into your library to be able to play them again in case your win condition is in the graveyard or destroyed. And then we have Paycrafter, same as Flashback Marauder. You basically just sacrifice it to itself, and then each player sacrifices a creature. But Paycrafter, they sacrifice a Planeswalker, or if they can't, they discard a card. So you're always getting value out of Paycrafter. You have Reclamation Sage, destroy target artifact or enchantment when it enters the battlefield. This is very good removal. Then something that I haven't used in a lot of decks yet, but it's quite good, is Brawn. As long as Brawn is in your graveyard and you control a forest, creatures you control have trample. So you just basically get this in your graveyard, and then all creatures have trample if you control a forest. I used this in another deck, that's why I added it. We have Ivy Lane Denizen. It's a 4-mana elf warrior that reads whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And then the combo is basically Herd Baloth and Ivy Lane Denizen. So with Herd Baloth, you put a counter on Herd Baloth, then you create a 4/4 green beast creature token. Ivy Lane Denizen triggers because the creature you create is green, and then you put another counter on Herd Baloth, and then you create this, do this for a loop, not infinitely. You need to specify how many you want to create, but you basically create an army of 4/4 green beasts, and you get counters on every other creature as well. And for 5 mana, 4/4 body isn't that bad, especially if you can create more creatures. Then we have Timeless Witness. I skipped this. We have Timeless Witness. For 4 mana, you can return target card from a graveyard to your hand, and for 7 mana, you can eternalize. By exiling this card from your graveyard, you create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie human shaman with no mana cost. Eternalize only as a sorcery. So it's just Eternal Witness, but 1 mana more, and it has Internalize. And that's it for creatures. This deck runs 16 creatures, and then we have 13 sorceries. The first being Bloodchief Thirst. It's basically a fatal push, but for 4 mana you can destroy any creature or planeswalker, which I think is very good even at sorcery speed. And then it's 1 mana to destroy converted mana cost 2 or less, which I think is very good. Then we have Duress. You look at opponent's hand, and then you choose a non-creature non-land card from it. That player discards that card. Then you have Agonizing Remorse. For 2 mana, it's the same effect, but you lose 1 life and it exiles that card. And you can also choose a card from a graveyard to exile. So if you want to get rid of something in a graveyard, you just look at opponent's hand and then choose something out of the graveyard. Then some ramp. We have Rampant Growth. You search for a library for a basic land, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Then we have Regrowth, same as Timeless Witness, but you basically return it to your hand for 2 mana. Then we have Sign in Blood. You target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life, which is very good for 2 mana. It is sorcery speed, but I mean, for 2 mana you draw 2 cards. That's very good. That's a very good rate. Then we have Uncage the Menagerie. It's a X2 green card that reads, search your library for up to X creature cards with different names that each have converted mana cost X. Reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle your library. So one of the purposes of this actual card is to look for 3 mana, you can look for 2 mana dorks to ramp you significantly, which I think is a very good rate. And if you want to do for other stuff, you can as well. I believe you can search for Painseer and Wall of Roots with for 4 mana, which I think it's just very good. And the deck is budget, so you want to get the most out of the list of the cards in the list. Then we have Read the Bones for 3 mana. You scry 2, draw 2 cards, then you lose to life. Same as Sign in Blood, but you do get to scry and it's 1 mana more. Then we have Search for Tomorrow. You can suspend it turn 1 for 1 green. And then at the end of in 2 turns you can search for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. Just keep in mind it doesn't say tapped, so on that turn you can use that mana. Let's say, I think that would be turn 3. So if turn 1 you play a forest, you suspend 2 turns, then you get a forest, and then you have ramped by just a turn 1 play basically. Then some tutors in the deck is Diabolic Tutor. You search for a card, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library for 4 mana. Then we have Dread Return. You return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield in case you lose any of the combo pieces or just the net value, and then you can sacrifice 3 creatures to play it for its flashback cost. Then one of my favorites is Illicit Shipment. It's a 5 mana sorcery with casualty 3 that says search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. But you can also sacrifice a creature with power 3 or greater and then you copy it. And because Glissa is a 3/3, you can sacrifice her to Illicit Shipment, and then you can tutor for 2 cards. So with for 5 mana you can tutor for Herd Baloth and Ivyland Denizen, and then you basically have the winning combo in hand, which I think is extremely good. Then Razakev's Right, it is for 1 mana. You can cycle by paying 1 black and discarding it to draw a card, or you can search for a card, put it in your hand, and then shuffle the library. But it's 5 mana, but I think the cycling ability is very good early on. And that's it for sorceries. The instance is mostly removal and ways to protect your combos or spells, for example Autumn's Veil. Spells you control can't be countered by blue or black spells this turn, and creatures you control can't be the targets of blue or black spells this turn. So you can just play this, and then you can cast Herd Baloth and Ivyland Denizen, and then create beasts, and then win the game basically. And we have the file. For 1 mana it's instant speed. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn for each swamp you control. I think it's very good, especially because it gets -1/-1 counters. You can get through unblockable creatures as well. Not unblockable, indestructible creatures. Then you have Tamio's Safekeeping. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and you gain 2 life. But it's just 1 mana hexproof, which is a very good rate in Magic. Yeah, Tragic Slip. The creature gets -1/-1, but that creature gets -13/-13 until end of turn instead if a creature died this turn. So let's say you attack, someone blocks, a creature dies, or you sacrifice a creature, then you can use Tragic Slip to destroy, not destroy, but essentially destroy a creature by giving it negative toughness. Then we have Village Rites. While on the topic of sacrificing, you can sacrifice a creature and then you draw 2 cards for 1 mana, and it's instant speed. So let's say someone's trying to remove your commander, or if someone's trying to interact with a creature, you can basically just sacrifice it and draw 2 cards. It's a very good card in Commander, and yeah, it was good in Standard as well. You have Cast Down, you destroy target non-legendary creature. And then we have Doomblade, destroy target non-black creature for 2 mana. Same with Cast Down, but it just needs to be non-black. Then we have Heartless Act. You destroy target creature with no counters on it. Or you remove 3 counters from target creature. So this does work with your commander. If something is gaining counters, you can basically remove them through Glissa and then use Heartless Act to destroy them. And then you have Naturalize, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Then you have Murder. It's just straight up destroy target creature, plain and simple. It's 3 mana instant speed, which, I mean, Murder is very well known in Magic, so it's not a surprise that it sees play in a budget deck, because it's very effective at what it does. Then we have Putrefy. It's a Golgari and 1 mana to destroy target artifact or creature. It can be regenerated. Sorry, it's getting quite late. Yeah, it's just Putrefy is a very good card. I think that was reprinted in a standard set as well. And then we have Price of Fame. So unlike Cast Down, this costs 2 less if you're targeting a legendary creature. And then on top of that, you get to Surveil 2, which is basically you look at the top 2 cards of your library. You may rearrange them or you may mull them. And that's it for the instance. Most of the artifacts is basically ways to make Glissa Sunslayer evasive and a lot of mana rocks. So one of the first spells is Cliffhaven Kite Cell. When it enters the battlefield, you may attach it to target creature control, and then it has flying. You have Hot Soup, which is basically it makes a creature unblockable, and when it is deal damage, you destroy it. But for 1 mana, then 3 to equip, you can basically make a creature unblockable, and you'll want to be using that on Glissa. And this is very interesting interaction. Because Glissa is a hexproof, this is quite evil, I think, but it's in Magic. Viridian Longbow basically lets the creature it's equipped to deal 1 damage to any target. If you tap it, and Glissa does have hexproof, so you can attach this to Glissa, you can attack, or you can tap it and let Glissa deal 1 damage to any target. If it's a creature, it will die because Glissa itself is dealing damage, and she has Death Touch, so that will kill any creature without indestructible. Then we have ways to make it evasive as well with Zephyr Boots. Equipped creature has flying, and then whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. So this will help you loot for your winning combo. Then we have Arcane Signet being one of the more cheaper. I know when this was released in the what was that? What's that set? Throne of Eldraine precon. It was quite pricey, but it was printed a lot since then. We have Arcane Signet. Then we have Charcoal Diamond. It's a 2 mana rock that taps for 1 black, but it comes in tapped, so it's a bit slower than other mana rocks. Then we have Droger's Helm. I added this to the deck because it gives the creature menace. And something that I also added to the deck that I want to show now is Vorak Battlehorns. So it basically says that equipped creature has trample and can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. So if you have Droger's Helm or any other menace ability and you have Vorak Battlehorns attached to it, people can't block, because menace means you need to block with 2 or more creatures, and Vorak Battlehorns says you can only block with 1, which I thought was a very interesting interaction. Then we have Executioner's Hood. It basically gives the equipped creature Intimidate. So this creature can be blocked except by artifact creatures and the creatures that share a color with it. I'm gonna go to bed after this video. We have Executioner's Hood. Then we have Fleet Feather Sandals. Equipped creature has flying and haste. So this is cool. You can give, okay, this is interesting. You can give Glissa flying and haste, which is very good. Then we have Golgari. This is getting back to the mana rocks. Golgari Signet. It's a very, very good mana rock. It's basically a 3 mana for 2, a 3 for 2 mana. So you pay 2 to get it on the battlefield, and then for 1 you can tap it to add Golgari to your mana pool, black and green. But let's say you play this on turn 2, on turn 3 you can pay 1 mana and tap it to add another mana, which I think is good. Then you have Key to the City. You discard a card, and then target creature can be blocked this turn. And then when it comes untapped, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. Yo. Sorry about that. That's basically to give Glissa unblockable. Do now have Liquid Metal Torque. It's one of the more efficient mana rocks in Magic. For 2 mana, you tap it to add colorless, and then you can target non-land permanent becomes an artifact in addition to each other types. So this works well with some of the cards like Naturalize or Putrefy. You can basically turn anything into an artifact and then destroy it. But it's mainly used because it's a 2 mana for 1 mana mana rock like Mind Stone, and then for 1 mana you can sacrifice it to draw a card. If you need other cards instead of that, or you're being flooded with mana, then you have Moss Diamond. Same with Charcoal Diamond, but it basically taps for green and it comes in tapped. Then you have Thieves Tools. This is very good. When it enters a battlefield, you create a treasure token, and equipped creature can be blocked as long as its power is 3 or less. So it's 1 generic, 1 black artifact, and then you pay 2 to equip, and that gives Glissa unblockable because her power is 3 or less. It's 3, but it says 3 or less, so 3 counts as being unblockable. So Thieves Tools is just very good in this deck. Then we have this already showed Vorak Battle Horns. It's the one that lets the equipped creature not be able to be blocked by more than 1 creature, and it gives you trample, but not that it's going to matter if you can't block it whatsoever. Then we have Chitinous Cloak. It gives the creature menace in a total of 6 mana and 2+2/+2. And then we have the last mana rock coming in, Commander Sphere. For 3 mana, you may add 1 mana of any color to your commander's color identity, and then for no mana you can sacrifice it to draw a card if you're being flooded with mana. Then we have Gruesome Deformity. It gives the enchanted creature Intimidate, so it can be blocked with creatures that share a color or artifact creatures. And then we have Dragon Shadow. It gives the enchanted creature Fear. It can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. I think Fear is a black color identity card. Then we have Underworld Connections. It's very good value. So it basically, you enchant the land and then you tap that land and pay 1 life to draw a card to help you dig for any combo pieces. And then, as the name states, Intimidation. Creatures you control can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. So it gives all your creatures unblockable unless the creature blocking is an artifact or a black creature. And that's it for the deck. I think there is I actually lost count, but there's a lot of mana rocks and ramp in the deck, but to keep it budget and consistent, I added 36 lands, which is 1 is a command tower and evolving wilds, 16 forests, Foul Orchard, Golgari Guildgate, 15 swamps, and then 1 Terramorphic Expanse. And yeah, I mean, that is it for the deck. I think that this is it's a very interactive deck, and if you use Glissa Sunslayer's ability to keep on drawing cards and losing a life, you will net extreme advantage over most other decks, because in all honesty, I think that drawing cards in Commander is one of the strongest abilities that you can add to a deck. If you're not drawing cards, the game can tend to be slow if you get land flooded or flooded with mana rocks and you have no way of replacing those cards with other stuff. The game will be much slower. So I think card draw is very important. That's why I actually wanted to specifically make a deck on Glissa Sunslayer, because I thought her ability was unique and I saw potential in her as being a commander. And yeah, I mean, it's a good commander. I think being a first strike death touch in commander is very relevant, because if someone blocks you, their creature will die first, because of this first strike and death touch. So they will need to basically lose 1 or 2 creatures to be able to stop Glissa Sunslayer from dealing damage. And a lot of people in Magic do not want to lose creatures to blocking, but in this deck, giving her menace and unblockable is going to net you a lot of cards. Our abilities are very relevant as well. For example, destroying enchantments. You can destroy Mystic Remoras. You can destroy Heuristic Studies, any other enchantment, and I think that is very relevant. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoy this deck tech. I enjoyed making this one. I think it's a unique commander. Drawing cards, losing a life with first strike and death touch. And I think that this Viridian, where is it? I think that the Viridian Longbow interaction is also very unique. You can basically tap the Glissa Sunslayer to destroy any creature, so it helps you control the board. Every other spell in the deck also helps you do that, so it's a deck packed with interaction and potential to be competitive on a budget. And I hope you guys enjoyed this format of Magic decks, me using Moxfield and MGD Goldfish to basically show you what the contents of the deck is. This type of workflow is a lot easier for me to use because I don't need to save each individual card image, and I don't need to like basically show you a slideshow. But yeah, that's it for me. I'm gonna go to bed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.